Sup, guys? It's Toad back with you really early, especially for a Saturday. I'm going to get this done. Got some expensive work being done at home here, so I'm just going to crank this video out, and then I'm going to talk about, obviously, the main three sports that are going on here: baseball, basketball, hockey, and I will maybe get back with a Kentucky Derby special or something, because I wanted to do one, but with the Kentucky Derby, you don't need to like beat the market really. Like you're really trying to beat the other betters. So you don't need to like beat market moves and stuff like that. So I think I can come in maybe a little bit later in the day with a derby video, hopefully. Although maybe I'll just like briefly mention something at the end of this video just to give you a little bit of kind of an indication of what I think about it. Maybe we'll see. But yesterday, 3-2. I mean, it was a winning day, but my NBA. I mean, after I went 10-0 on sides and a 10-1 run to start the NBA playoffs, we're now sitting at a 10-4 and 10-3 against the sides, I think, with Golden State not getting there. And I think it was kind of bullshit, man, to be honest. I know they were losing the whole game, probably deserved to lose that bet. And the under, I'm actually surprised, didn't even really come close to getting there either, which was kind of surprising to me. But Golden State, it looked like they were about to make a run late in the game. Didn't happen. And then really, there were a couple of things that just really completely put the game askew. Golden State had a stretch where they didn't score for like 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. You just can't do that. I mean, Houston scored 12 unanswered points, and that's, as Evan My, college basketball analyst, talks about, that's a kill shot, basically. And if that hadn't happened, you could have seen that game go a completely different direction. If it comes down to intentional fouls, you could see Golden State maybe get it done. But that was a game where Golden State, actually, I'll just bring it up. We can look at the box score here, and then I'll talk about baseball, which I actually did well in baseball yesterday. There were some outlier things going on in this game, man. Golden State had 90 field goal attempts to 78 for Houston. Whenever you see that, you usually don't see that team lose the game. And I know they only wound up hitting 2 more field goals than Houston did, but even that might be enough to get that thing done for you, win and cover. Again, when you see a team outshoot a team like just with pure field goal attempts, that means they're getting way more possessions. Usually that team's going to have the game won. But then where you see the huge discrepancy came in, Golden State actually won the three-point battle with 3 additional three-pointers. They took way more, though. And yeah, Golden State, I mean, you could say there was some imbalance here as Butler and Curry did everything for the team, and like basically nobody else scored, except I think Moody, Podziemski did a little bit, but it was mostly a 2-man show, which, yeah, I mean, Houston has more depth, which may actually spell doom for Golden State here when it comes down to it. But the other thing I was going to say is basically the major discrepancy in this game was the free throws. Houston had 46 free throw attempts to Golden State's 22. So even though Houston shot way better from the free throw line, that is a major outlier, man. Houston had 24 more free throw attempts and made 15 more free throws. And that was the entire difference in the game. Like, you take that away, take that disparity away, and Golden State wins and covers the game. So it's just kind of brutal, man. That free throw discrepancy, ridiculous. I'm not happy about it. And then the other games, we won them both unders in the Tampa and the Yankees. Easy under on that one. A's in Miami, not quite as easy, but still, given what I thought was going to be a pitching matchup where both pitchers might be able to pitch well, and one of the two did, that still was enough to put that game under what was too high of a total in that A's Miami one. Sometimes it does pay to go under the higher totals, even though the books usually put out a higher total for a reason. But I just thought that especially Hoagland for the A's was being very undervalued, and he put together a really, really good performance in that game. Really, really good major league debut from him. He could be one of the better pitchers that we see making their debuts this year. For the Yankees, Max Fried, I think, went 6 innings or so, giving up 1 hit. So that game was guaranteed to go under pretty much because of that, and he didn't allow any runs. Tampa didn't even score in the game. Dodgers didn't get there. I mean, the Dodgers just could not put anything up on the board, man, which I was surprised by. Grant Holmes pitched pretty well. Yamamoto was as good as expected. home's way better than expected. And the Dodgers did have a 2-0 lead late in that game, but they wound up winning 2-1. And there was a rain delay at the end, so that was kind of brutal. Then the other game that was a little bit square, the Chicago Cubs, that was actually an easy winner on the Cubs, winning 10-0. The game it went exactly the way that I handicapped, so that makes you feel really good. It was just such a mismatch in the pitching, man. That is how it played out, so all right, let's delete those banners. I was just going through them because that was yesterday. Today, I have only baseball. I got 5 baseball plays. 3-1 yesterday, but we will talk about, of course, the other sports. We got a Game 7, man, in basketball. Clippers and Denver. Going back to Denver for Game 7. Now, this is a game that I don't quite want to get involved in, but I do obviously have thoughts about it. The Nuggets have flipped from a 1-point dog to a 1.5-point favorite, but they got 70% of tickets, only 68% of the cash to the public. Seems to like Denver here, even though we're coming off a game where the Clippers won, and the Clippers, maybe the public is just thinking, oh, that was a close game. It looks close, basically, and now we're going back to Denver. But that game wasn't close. I was pissed because the Clippers didn't cover that. The Clippers were up 15 down the stretch in that game, and they wound up missing a free throw and not even covering and winning the game by only 6. Very, very frustrating. Clippers dominated that game. So I think the public might have this one wrong. And a lot of times, if you see a home team like this, especially when it's almost a pick-em line and the home team's getting that much public action, usually that's an indicator you want to fade the public. And I think that might be the right way. I mean, I picked the Clippers to win this series before it started in my bracket, so I think I would just still lean to the Clippers to get this one done. They've been the better team in the series. They've had big leads in a couple of the games where the score wound up not really being indicative of what happened in the game. The Clippers had a big lead in one of the games they lost in Denver, which I think was, Game 1, I think. And then they had a much bigger lead than what the final was in their last game. However, they are having to go to Denver into elevation, which does give Denver a little bit of an edge because they're more used to it than any other team is. So that might kind of negate that a little bit, which is kind of why I don't quite want to do it. Nuggets do have more player experience in a way, as well as these guys have. A lot of the guys on the team, some of them at least have won a championship before a couple of years ago. So the Nuggets do have a little bit of pedigree there, which worries me a little bit. But of course, the Nuggets do have a new coach as they fired their coach, Malone, who was their championship winning coach, with not a whole lot of games left in the season. But it seemed to have sparked the team a little bit because I guess the team didn't like him very much. So kind of it's hard to gauge what you think there, as the Nuggets are going with an inexperienced coach. Now, the Clippers do have a deeper roster. I mean, they have a more full roster for sure. So getting to a Game 7 where guys can be tired, that is an advantage to the Clippers. And the Clippers, I think, do have the coaching edge in the game. So very hard to handicap this game. Perhaps the stronger way to look is towards the under, because it is a Game 7, and the under usually makes sense almost blindly in a Game 7. Sometimes I will do that, but I'll tell you why I won't do it here in a minute. But I do think the under makes sense, because in a Game 7, you got some tired legs and kind of affect the offense, and teams really, really focus on defense. Like, you don't want to make mistakes. You don't want to take massive risks, almost like a Super Bowl type of thing, especially early on in the game. Teams will be feeling each other out, not wanting to make mistakes, really focusing on defense. So I think if you want to go first half under in this game, that would be a way to look as well. I would not mind that. The problem that I have with the unders, especially the full game under, where I don't quite want to do it, is this total is actually down almost 20 points from where it was in Game 1. And yeah, in Game 1, it was definitely too high. In Game 1, the total was like in the 220s. We saw the game go way under, even though it went into overtime, and it still went under. I believe it went into overtime. So the books had to adjust it down. They adjusted it down several points. I got caught trying to go over that one. It was close, but it didn't get there. That was my only total so far in the NBA. And then they dropped it even further after that. I think the first 4 games of the series went under, and now the last 2 have actually gone over. Yet the books have actually dropped the total even further. I think this is the lowest total that we've seen on the board. Maybe the second lowest. No, I don't think it's been this low in any of the others. I think a lot of the other ones have been in the 2 teens or high 200s. So the books know what they're doing, man. The odds makers know that Game 7s do tend to be lower scoring. So you're not really getting much value playing the under here. But generally, I do agree that it will be a lower scoring game. So you might find other ways to play unders, like find some player props take some specific players to go under. I would not do that with any of the absolute star players. Like, I would not go under with, like, Jokic. Like, if you think the Clippers are going to win, maybe find other, like, Nugget role players to go under their totals or something like that. I'm not really a prop guy, but that's, I think, the general feeling. We got 64% of tickets, 90% of the cash coming in the over. Don't really agree with that cash disparity, obviously. And the total's actually gone up a little from 206 to 206 with juice. So if you do like the under, I don't think there's any reason to play it now. I think you could play it closer to game time and probably be getting the best number that way. But probably you're not going to get much better than about 207, something in that range. But I will stay away from that completely. And we do have a Game 7 in the NHL as well, where I think the same thing applies as far as the under in Colorado-Dallas. I would lean to the under. It looks like there's a big-time cash disparity here, as we've seen a lot of games in Colorado-Dallas go over the total in this series. But again, it's Game 7. I think you're going to see defense. Totals down from 6 juice to the under, 5.5 juice to the over, so a slight move. Public all over the over, 84% of tickets on the over, 77% of the cash, however, on the under. And again, I agree with that. I probably prefer the under in this game to the basketball one, though, because odds makers can really only do so much with a hockey total. Like, they can't really move it that far off of the typical, like, 5.5 number. But I do think we're going to get defense here. I think we're going to get a low-scoring game in this one. And I do lean to Colorado, which is where the cash is coming in. 61% of the cash coming in on them, and they are a road favorite, I think, for a reason. The odds makers are, again, telling you Colorado is actually the better team, even though the perception might be that Dallas is the better team. Public, even though Colorado won with a kind of misleading final score in Game 6, which, of course, I'm happy about because I had Colorado in regulation in that game. And they won 7-4, but they had 2 empty net goals after they retook the lead. But if you look at the stats, they dominated that game, man. Colorado had about 20 more shots, about 20 more hits. Total domination from Colorado. It just didn't really reflect totally on the scoreboard. So maybe the scoreboard wasn't even really that misleading. It was like the empty net goals kind of adjusted for the rest of the game being a bit misleading. Dallas, 62% of tickets coming in on them still, though. And Dallas, I mean, they do have maybe a little bit more experience than Colorado does in the recent years. They've gone further into the playoffs than Colorado has. Colorado has been that team, man, where I think 2 years in a row they've lost in the first round. But I think that kind of gives them a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And everybody's probably kind of the mindset, well, they always lose. They can't get it done. I think they actually will this time. 61% of the cash coming in Colorado. But, of course, a little bit biased based on my bracket, my kind of future perception here, or whatever you want to call it, like the predictions I had before the playoffs started. But really, I mean, what I said wouldn't have changed that much. I told you Colorado's the better team. They have been lined as the favorite every game. With a very similar market read in the first game, I did play Colorado on the road, and they did win the game. They've been the better team in the series, man. The games that Colorado has won, they have won by decisive margins. All 3 games. I think Colorado's won, well, we can look right now, but I'm pretty sure the games that Colorado's won in the series have won by at least 3 goals in every one of them. Yeah, they won by 4, 4, and 3. And they did lose 1 game by 4, but the other 2 games they lost were both close. I think they might both have gone into overtime. So Colorado has been the better team. And the games that have been won by margin, Colorado's been on the top of those. Dallas has had some like close wins here. So I do think Colorado is the right side here. I just don't know if I quite want to play it just because the previous game did have a little bit of a misleading result in a way where the game was a little bit closer. The score was closer than the final score was, really. However, again, like I said, Colorado statistically did dominate that game, and they have had the upper hand statistically in the series. So I do like Colorado, but they are going back to Dallas. I mean, a home team in Game 7, kind of a crazy thing, but again, a home team in Game 7, you're always going to see that team be favored, and they're not. And Colorado is actually favored on the road in Game 7, so that is telling you something. So man, I'm kind of tempted to do it after all that being said. Should I do it? Wow, that's tough. I'll stay off, but man, that is close. So close to being a play. I actually like that one more than I like the Clippers. So, and I don't mean anything involving taking a haircut, which is not what I want to do. Let's go to baseball. I'm going to try to do a quick run through like I usually do, where I get too autistic about the matchups, man. So I just run through all the games. Baseball starts this afternoon. We'll have some plays in afternoon baseball. Why not? We got a couple of them. First game up, we're going to go over in the same series that I went under yesterday, Tampa, New York. And I know both teams have pretty decent bullpens, but we're talking about game 2 of the series now. So the Yankees, even though they didn't have to use much of their bullpen yesterday after Fried got them deep into the game, they did still use a couple of relief pitchers in a close game. So we are still talking about now a situation where the Yankees aren't quite rested anymore. Tampa had to use a bit of their pen yesterday. And a lot of this is the starting pitching matchup, man. So if you wanted to go over in the first 5 innings, I wouldn't disagree with that either. Zach Littell is pitching, and his numbers suck. 5.03 ERA, 1.24 whip, which isn't that bad. Kind of indicating his ERA should be better. And yeah, he's limited the damage recently. He's had 3 pretty decent starts in a row, allowing 3 or fewer earned runs in each of them. One at Arizona. Pretty impressive, really, that he could do that. I mean, Arizona is a pretty hitter-friendly environment, but then the only game that Tampa actually won behind him was the game after that in a pitcher-friendly environment at San Diego. At San Diego. But the thing that worries me is that in those 2 games, he only had 3 strikeouts in 11 innings and 2 walks, so he wasn't really fooling hitters. He was not getting the strikeouts, although 22-8 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good. Zach Littell, if you look at his career stats, he doesn't walk that many guys. That's really kind of his thing, but he does become too hittable at times, and he's not like a huge strikeout guy, and he really gives up a lot of fly balls, and that could become an issue here in an afternoon game in Yankee Stadium, where I believe it's going to be a little bit warmer up here in the Northeast. Again, let me see. What do we got? Yeah, 80 degrees, nice weather, it looks like, so that's decent conditions for the ball to be flying in this as well. I haven't looked at the wind conditions, but total is posted really high, and I think it's high for a reason, although I'm going to contradict myself when I get to the Red Sox game. A little bit of foreshadowing there, because a lot of it is the pitching matchups, man. But again, usually the higher totals do tend to go over, and that is the way I'm going to go in this one. Zach Littell, let me finish his analysis here. Against the Yankees specifically, you look at the specific matchup, 52 at-bats against them. Hasn't been good, man. And Volpe, or however you pronounce his name, is actually 5 for 8 off him with 2 home runs. So, and Wells 3 for 5 in the home runs. So if you want to look for player props, again, hits plus runs plus RBIs, and Goldschmidt 6 for 9 off him with a home run. So those 3 guys could do some big damage here. But overall, Littell against the Yankees, 52 at bats. 16-10 strikeout walk ratio is not good. 4 home runs allowed is not good. 327 average, 1,070 OPS. So Littell not doing well in his career against the Yankees. On the other hand, Clark Schmidt not doing well for the Yankees. 5.52 ERA, 1.43 whip so far. That's not good. 15-9 strikeout walk ratio is not good. He's walked at least 2 in all 3 of his starts. Hasn't gone more than 5 2/3 innings in any of his starts. And he hasn't faced the greatest lineups either. I mean, I guess Cleveland has been the best offense that he's faced, and he took some damage in that game for sure. A fatality, really, as they lost that game. I don't think Schmidt is that good, to be honest. His walk numbers are just really, really alarming right now, I would say. And against Tampa Bay, even though their offense isn't that good, Schmidt hasn't been very good against them in his career. 39 at-bats. 12-2 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good, but a 308 average allowed and 744 OPS is getting to me on the high side. So I don't think either pitcher has a great matchup here. Total's high for a reason. Again, like I said, weather's good for it. Let's go over the total in the Tampa and Yankees game there. Yankees, I know their offense tends to either do really, really bad or really, really good. Feast or fam in Yankees, but I'm going to expect them to feast on a bad Zach Littell in that one. Houston, Chicago. This looks like a huge pitching mismatch. Hunter Brown, I mean, he's really starting to turn things around in his career. He's dominating this year. 1.22 ERA, 0.84 whip. I mean, he's actually one of the best pitchers in baseball this season. 40-7 strikeout walk ratio. Only 24 hits allowed in 37 innings. You do not want to fade Hunter Brown right now. White Sox offense, not a good offense either, although Brown, his numbers against the White Sox go back to when he was still kind of figuring things out as a pitcher. So he is better now, so I don't know how much you could really take away from this. But White Sox do have a 262 average and 878 OPS off him with 3 home runs off him in 42 at-bats. So Brown has had some kind of mediocre numbers against the White Sox. But again, he is very, very much improved over where he was even last year. So he still has a huge advantage. And Davis Martin, 1.32 whip is going to indicate that his 3.24 ERA is way too low. He's putting way too many men on base to maintain an ERA that low. He is coming off 2 straight shutouts, though, on the road against Minnesota and impressively at that A's temporary stadium where balls tend to fly out of that park. Somehow he gave up no runs there, so maybe Martin is actually finding something, turning it around, but he did only have an 8-5 strikeout walk ratio in those games, so his walk number is still pretty high. Not really a big strikeout pitcher, but he does induce a lot of ground balls, so in a way he does fool some people. He is able to get out of some jams. Still, obviously, I think you got to give Hunter Brown a huge edge in this game, but I'm not going to play the game. I mean, Houston's just a massive road favorite, up to minus 243, so I would not want to do it. I mean, if you want to look to find a way to play this game in some way, like I mentioned, you could play the Rockies team total under yesterday, and they didn't even score at all, so that was a winner against Robbie Ray, who actually had put in a good performance once. If you do want to look for something like that, you could look to maybe the White Sox not scoring a lot in this game as well, going under what I assume is a very low team total for them. Might be the way to look. By the way, I forgot to mention the market read on the Yankees total there. That's gone up actually from 9 juice to the over, 9.5 juice to the under. Public is on the over. I mean, that's not a surprise. They're always going to be on the over, but they're not always wrong. 82% of tickets, 83% of cash coming in on the over there. So a little bit more of the cash lines moved up a little bit. And with the game being very low scoring yesterday, I think it might give the public a little bit of hesitation. Although with the Yankees, they're probably not going to hesitate that much, but still, I like the over in that one in general. Next up, I'm going to play the Mets money line, even though I know we're paying a bit of a price on a road favorite. I think they got the edge here, though, even though St. Louis, I know they returned from a road trip, didn't play a good game, and a lot of times when that happens and a team returns home from a road trip, they bounce back in the next game. They refocus, they do well, but I just don't think this is a good pitching matchup at all. I told you I leaned to the Mets yesterday because Sonny Gray, even though he's a really good pitcher, just specifically against the Mets really hammer him, and they did again yesterday. So I was right about that. St. Louis, the road trip wasn't a long one. It only took them to Cincinnati, so I don't know if we could really treat it like a road trip. I just expect their woes to continue in this next game, man. They used some of their bullpen. They used more of their bullpen than the Mets did yesterday, as Holmes got them deeper into the game than Gray did. So the Cardinals had to go to their bullpen a little earlier, and the Mets have the better bullpen anyway. So now you're looking at the more rested bullpen and the better bullpen on the side of the Mets. The Mets have the better offense as well over St. Louis. And then the starting pitching matchup, I think they have the edge here as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't be playing the game. Tyler McGill pitching for the Mets. I've been a naysayer of this guy, but I'm not going to naysay what he's done this year so far. The 1.13 whip, 1.74 ERA. Sure, his ERA should get higher, and he did give up 3 runs in his last start, but that's the most he's given up in any start this year. And he went 6 1/3, which is more innings than he pitched in any start this year. So they're starting to unleash him. I am a little bit worried because he did throw over 100 pitches. So a lot of times when a pitcher does that for the first time, they might regress a little bit in their next start. But I don't know that will be the case because he didn't. He did give up some runs in that game, so he might want to pitch a little bit better than that, although he did have a 9-1 strikeout walk ratio, only allowed 3 hits. So those numbers are all really good for that start. So he is pitching quite well. And I think maybe he will continue this. He's kind of a veteran pitcher at this point, man, so I'm not as concerned about him throwing a high pitch count. He's thrown a high pitch count 4 starts in a row, so he's just used to it at this point, so I'm not as worried about that. His walk number is still too high for the most part, but other than that, good numbers. Well over 1 strikeout per inning, 39 and 31 innings, 23 hits allowed, so well below 1 hit per inning. Only allowed 1 home run. So he, aside from the walks, he's pitching really well. 12 walks, it's not the worst. But against St. Louis, they only have 18 at-bats against him, and he has had the upper hand against St. Louis, other than a home run from Contreras. But 167 average against them and 599 OPS with 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. So very weak offensive numbers in a small sample size, but still, McGill has held St. Louis to some very weak offensive numbers there. And on the other side, Eric Fetty. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's walking too many guys? How about we look at Eric Fetty, who is having a steep regression right now, which I thought might be the case because the last year and a half or so, he just came from out of nowhere, even though he was older than 30 years old. And usually pitchers that are that old don't just all of a sudden become complete dynamos. I mean, they might be a little bit better for a while, but I thought we were going to get some regression out of Fetty, and we're seeing it now. 4.68 ERA, 1.35 whip this year. So, again, the public is going to be on the Mets with me, but I just don't think they're wrong. So, 2 plays in a row where I'm joining the public, but I just don't think they got these wrong. I mean, there's only so much you could do. Like, sometimes the ERAs are just somewhat accurate, even though I do think that McGill, his ERA is going to get higher. Fetty, I think his ERA is basically right where I think it should be. 4.68, 1.35 whip is pretty bad. And against the Mets, pretty bad. 112 at bats. He has not done well. He has more walks than strikeouts, which is where I was going with this. You want to talk about having too many walks? There it is. 14 walks to 13 strikeouts. 330 batting average and 897 OPS. So Fetty, really, really bad numbers against the Mets in his career. And just overall, his numbers have not been good this season, man. He has only 1 more strikeout than walks, 17 strikeouts to 16 walks, even though he has allowed fewer than 1 hit per inning, so he's not that hittable, but he's just wild. He's given it up, so we'll take the Mets. The Mets up for minus 133 and minus 142, though. 95% tickets, 90% of the cash. So I am worried that they're very, very public and less of the cash percentage on them, but the money has moved up on them. So in a way, it looks similar to those 2 games that I played yesterday, like the Cubs and the Cubs did get the win. Oh, fuck. Oh, actually, I'm back. Am I back? Oh, I thought I had lost my internet. Anyway, I'm not too concerned. I was going to say, I'm not as concerned by that. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Let me check this out. That was a weird, blip or glitch. Maybe it was a StreamYard glitch. Let me see. Hang on. I'm going to just go check my video again here, my live video. Give me a second here. We're still live, so that's good. So hopefully it was just a little bit of a blip. Seems fine. So I think it was just a little bit of a blip there. So hopefully you got what I was saying there. Mets, I mean, they do look a little bit public, but the Cubs did get there yesterday. We see the line moving in their direction at least. So even though less of the cash on a very public team is a little bit concerning to me, not going to worry too much. Cleveland and Toronto. I actually leaned to Cleveland in this one. Toronto won last night. Both teams kind of used a bunch of their bullpen. Gavin Williams, I know he is the worst pitcher in general. Bad numbers, 1.57 whip, 5.14 ERA. But against Toronto, only 11 at-bats. He's held to a 182 average and 545 OPS. So he has good numbers against Toronto, at least. And their guys haven't really seen that much of him. Gaussman, 1.03 whip, really good for Toronto. 4.5 ERA, should actually be a little bit lower based on his whip. Although he does tend to be a little bit... he's been a little bit wild at times this year, and he's walked 8 guys in the last 2 games. That's a little bit concerning. Coming off a really ugly start, but it was against the Yankees, who are probably the best offense in the American League. But against Cleveland, his numbers are a little bit bad. 282 average and 71 at-bats, 799 OPS. So I actually do lean to Cleveland in that one, just because I actually don't think Toronto has the upper hand on that starting pitching matchup. The movement is all over the place there. Tickets and cash are both 50-50, so very hard to read. I did see the cash coming in on Cleveland earlier with the line dropping on Toronto down from minus 133 to minus 130, so I do still lean that way. San Diego, Pittsburgh, I would lean to San Diego in this game, even though Randy Vasquez is on the mound. He is not good. San Diego, both teams used some of their bullpen yesterday, but San Diego does have the better bullpen. I actually think Vasquez, as bad as he is, might actually be the better of the 2 starters in this matchup. 4.28 ERA should actually be way higher, given that his whip is 1.57, 19 walks to 10 strikeouts. So there's no way that I can actually play on San Diego with this guy pitching. I mean, when he's walking almost twice as many as he's striking out, I can't do it. And his ERA should be way higher, but against Pittsburgh, he's done okay. 21 at-bats, allowing a 286 average, 571 OPS, so it is a pretty low OPS. Falter, on the other hand, really does falter against San Diego. His numbers aren't good this year. 5.93 ERA, 1.35 whip. None of that is good. And against San Diego, very small sample size, 13 at-bats, but he's allowed 7 hits to them. 538 average and 1,523 OPS. So very small sample size, but Falter gets smoked by those opposing bats there of San Diego. Could potentially lean to an over in that game, even though you're going to have to deal with San Diego's bullpen being pretty good. Totals at 9. Both starting pitchers are pretty bad. But in San Diego, I mean, you're getting a cheap price on them, but it is down from -118 to -115, and they are very likely to be public. So it does look like maybe it's a little bit of a trap line there. Maybe it looks too easy to take San Diego, although it looked too easy to take the Cubs yesterday, and I did it anyway, and it was just easy. But maybe the over would be the better way to lean than just San Diego, or San Diego's team total over. Just expect them to score against Falter. That might be a good way to look there, and just take the other side of the equation out. Colorado and San Francisco. Again, San Francisco has a huge number here. Blaylock for Colorado is a younger pitcher, so he's more of an unknown. San Francisco's never faced him before, so even though he hasn't been pitching that well, it's possible that he does okay against hitters that haven't seen him before. Hicks, on the other hand, I think is, in ways, he has better stuff than what his stats would indicate, so he might do a little bit better against Colorado. But, I mean, this is just, you don't know what you're going to get out of this game. And very difficult to gauge. Against Colorado, Hicks, some numbers are all over the place here, too. 258 average allowed is good, but because he's allowed a couple of home runs, and 884 OPS in 31 at-bats is way too high for my liking. Next up, Minnesota, Boston. I'm going under, even though the total's 9.5, and I think we're going to have a nice, warm, clear day here in the afternoon in Boston. I like the under in this one. I think the professional bettors, again, this is a pitcher that I seem to disagree with them on, with Bailey Ober. I like Bailey Ober, and it was Whip Sox, I know, 1.35. Maybe he's ERA should be higher than 4.1, skewed by his first start of the season where he allowed 8 runs in 2 2/3. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs since then. In 4 of his 5 starts, he's allowed 1 earned run. He's going deep into games, going at least 6 innings in every one of those last 4 starts. So he's not a bad pitcher, man. 25-7 strikeout walk ratio. He has allowed too many hits, 37 and 32 2/3. But since that bad opening start, he's only allowed 29 hits in 30 innings. So again, if you throw out that one bad start at St. Louis to start the season, I tell you, Bailey Ober usually starts the season shaky, and then he gets way better. And if you look at his career stats, he's been very solid for years. So I just don't get the hate from the professionals. I mean, I understand that the public just don't really know who he is, so they don't like him, but I like him because I think you get value betting on him, especially after he has a bad start to the season and his numbers look really shitty. You can get some good value on him. And against the Red Sox, he's been good in his career. Not all of them have seen him before, 20 at-bats, so it is a small sample size, but the guys that haven't seen him before might not know how to hit him, and the guys that have seen him before only have 3 hits off him for a 150 average and 367 OPS. So Ober has really held these Red Sox down. And then on the other side, Hunter Dobbins is pitching for the Red Sox, and he's a young guy that just got called up this year, and he's made 2 career starts, and his numbers are good. The Red Sox won both games behind him, but we're not playing the side here. We are playing the total here, and yes, he got a ton of run support behind him in those games, but he pitched well. He's got a 2.45 ERA, 1.18 whip, 11-2 strikeout walk ratio in 11 innings. Only allowed 3 earned runs across those 2 games, went at least 5 innings in both games. Granted, against St. Louis and then the White Sox, and the White Sox are a very weak lineup, but that's still a nice way to cut your teeth. You know, you get those nerves out of the way. You get used to pitching in the majors. I think all of that is good. He didn't even walk anybody in that game against the White Sox, 6 strikeouts. He could be good, man. So I have some high hopes for Dobbins, even though I didn't really know who he was coming into the season. But because he's been pitching pretty well, the Twins' offense isn't exactly one that's going to light up the scoreboard. And they, of course, have never seen him before. I think he's got a little bit of an edge built in this game, too, as these pitchers tend to do the first couple of times through the lineup when the opposing hitters haven't seen him before. So I like this game to go under. I think the total is actually too high given this pitching matchup, even though you could be worried about maybe there's going to be the total might be that high because of wind blowing out to left field, which is a little bit concerning in Fenway, obviously, if it's blowing out towards the monster. But, I mean, I think you might see these pitchers be able to keep the damage limited, keep the balls in the yard. Bullpens, I think, are okay on each side, and they're rested enough that I'm just still going to play it. Next up, I think we get some value on a Miami Marlins team. It's still considered to be pretty bad. And yeah, they aren't good, and people like the A's because the A's can hit. This is A's at Marlins. A's certainly can hit. Miami cannot, but I think the edge has to go to Miami. I think they have a major pitching mismatch here. I think the bullpens, again, are a little bit of a wash after how they were used yesterday. So I'll go full game on this. And you know me, man. I like Max Meyer. He didn't do me well last time out. The game went over the total in the game that I had him, but I'm going to play on him here. You're getting a cheap price. I found it at minus 120. Looks like it's minus 116 on the board right now, but I think it's a very cheap price. I think you're still getting value with Max Meyer being under the radar, especially when he's coming off a bad start. But his numbers are good overall. 3.18 ERA, 1.21 whip. Whip a little bit high for my liking, but still 47 to 11 strikeout walk ratio. Yeah, the walks are too high, but 47 strikeouts in 34 innings is crazy. Only 30 hits allowed, so he's racking up strikeouts at a really, really obscene rate. Huge strikeout rate. He's got to get his walk numbers down a little bit, but he's not been very hittable at all. Had his worst start of the season at Seattle to a pitcher-friendly park, so you can see why I was mad about losing that under. I thought that was the right way to go in that game, the under. I think Seattle had a pretty good pitcher on their side, too, and just it was bad. It just didn't get there. I forget, was it Wu in that game? Let me see. Oh, no, it was Evans, the guy making his major league debut, and he actually pitched okay. Meyer actually pitched worse than he did, but Meyer, he's starting to pitch really, really well. I think he's going to bounce back. He's sort of turning into the ace of the staff, and of course, the A's have never seen him before, so you get a young guy with really, really extreme strikeout stuff against an offense that's never seen him before. I think you got to tip the scales in his direction, especially over Osvaldo Bido. So, as I say, the hitters tend to not hit well against pitchers they haven't seen before, especially when it's somebody as good as Max Meyer, and he's probably going to be in bounce-back mode. Bido, much worse pitcher, 1.53 whip, terrible, 4.31 ERA, should probably be even higher. You can't put 1.5 men on base an inning and get away with it. And he's got a 17 to 12 strikeout walk ratio, not good. Way too many walks. He's allowed way more than one hit per inning. Not a high strikeout rate. He just doesn't fool hitters. He just doesn't really get the job done. Marlins haven't really seen him, but in 6 at-bats, they are 2 for 6 off him. 333 average, 762 OPS, so very, very small sample size. Marlins hit him okay. Take from that what you will, but I just don't think he's a great pitcher. I don't think he's going to come out there and fool anyone. So we're going to go with the Miami Marlins in that game. Couldn't really see any percentages on that, so Arizona and Philadelphia. Brandon Pfaadt actually has really good numbers against Philly in his career, and he has really good numbers this year. 2.78 ERA, 1.12 whipping against Philly in 33 at-bats, 15 to 1 strikeout walk ratio, 152 average allowed, 449 OPS, so absolutely crazy. The numbers are ridiculous. Pfaadt does really, really well against the Phillies. So I think you probably got to give him the edge, especially with Aaron Nola not pitching well this season. But you got to expect Nola is going to start bouncing back, and maybe he did with a 7-inning, 1-run performance with 6 strikeouts, 1 walk against the Cubs. That's pretty good, man, against a good lineup like the Cubs. So Nola, I think he's starting to turn it around. I mean, he's definitely not as bad as his numbers this year have been. 1.4 whip, 5.4 ERA. Look at his career numbers. He's certainly better than that. Against Arizona, his numbers are decent. In 113 at-bats, 30 to 5 strikeout walk ratio is really good. But 248 average, also quite good. But 749 OPS, getting a little bit high because he has allowed 6 home runs. Player prop up potential here, especially on Kettle Marte, 5 for 13 off him, 2 home runs, a triple and a double off of him. So, again, hits plus runs plus RBIs for Marte, if you like to look at the player props there. Slight lean to Arizona. I think they do still have a little bit of the edge there in that one because of that. The money is coming in that direction. It looks like a Philly down from minus 131 to minus 120, but 56% of the tickets, 59% of the cash coming in on Philly. So I don't know what we can take away from all that, really, but just in general, I think the matchup favors Arizona and Pfaadt a little bit more there. Washington, Cincinnati. I mean, Trevor Williams has really, really been struggling this season. His numbers are not very good. He's certainly way too hittable. Nick Lodolo is the better of those 2 pitchers. You're paying a bit of a price for Cincinnati, although they did get it done with Hunter Green yesterday, having the better pitcher on the mound. They may do it again here. Williams might be a little bit even worse off at Great American Ballpark, which is tough to pitch in. So we will see there. I don't really have much of a lean there. Seattle and Texas. I mean, Luis Castillo is probably the better pitcher over Corbin. I mean, who isn't better than Corbin? But Corbin has caught me a couple of times by actually pitching better than we think that he's going to pitch so far this year. Castillo, 1.39 whip is a little bit concerning. 3.62 ERA looks good, but he's putting too many men on base, too many walks, 14 walks to 28 strikeouts in 32 and a third innings. His other numbers are good, but too many walks. And against Texas, he's only been mediocre in 79 at-bats, 266 average, 748 OPS, so I don't think we have a huge advantage this time in fading Corbin. Corbin is pitching better than he usually does, but 1.58 whip indicates his ERA should skyrocket. I mean, that's still a terrible whip. Way more than one and a half men on base an inning. You can't do that and get away with it, man. So that ERA should get higher. 15-6 strikeout walk ratio is not good. Well over 1 hit allowed per inning. Not good. Hasn't really faced great lineups he had either with Anaheim and then Oakland twice. The A's. Although the A's are hitting a little bit better this year. Corbin against Seattle actually does okay in 55 at-bats, 255 average, 663 OPS. So he might actually have a slight matchup edge there. And the money, I believe, is actually coming in on his side. Yeah. Seattle down from -130, -126. Seattle's going to get the public action, 68% of tickets, because they have been hot recently, but 54% of the cash coming in on Texas. So Corbin actually has the cash discrepancy there, but I still don't want to put my money on him, but I'll at least stay away from that one. Chicago, Milwaukee, this game, Jameson Taillon against Quintana. Milwaukee has actually won all 5 of Quintana's starts so far this year, which is crazy. A guy at his age, he's still out there getting it done, man. Actually, still like fooling hitters, even though he's really just a command pitcher at this point. Doesn't really strike guys out, but still, he's pitching really well. Jameson Taillon, I think, is the worst of the 2 pitchers at this point, even though a 1.1 whip is pretty good. 4 ERA is fine, but in 106 at-bats against Milwaukee, 274 average, 746 OPS. So on the mediocre to not great side there. Quintana, for Milwaukee, 1.14 whip, 1.14 ERA. Same whip and ERA is crazy. His ERA, you got to expect it to go up from there, but he is pitching well this season. And he has decent numbers against the Cubs as well, even though their lineup is good. 68 at-bats, 250 average, 673 OPS. So I probably would not want to fade Quintana. If I was going to go to this game, though, Milwaukee used so much of their bullpen yesterday in that travesty of a game where I won on the Cubs. Milwaukee used way more relievers, and their bullpen is actually one of the worst in baseball as well. So if you do like Quintana in the starting pitching matchup, which I would lean that way, I would only go first 5 innings in this one on the Milwaukee side. Probably would be the way to play it and just expect Quintana to get the better of the starting pitching matchup. They're down from -115 to -105, and they got 56% of the cash coming in on them, 59% of the tickets on the other side on the public Cubs. Kansas City and Baltimore, you got 2 kind of unknown pitchers who are actually off to good starts with Bubic and Sugano. Bubic, though, I think he's a little bit more than known quantity, even though he's pitching well. 1.14 whip, 2.25 ERA this year, 37 strikeouts, 29 hits in 36 innings, 12 walks, a little bit of a high walk number, which is kind of starting to rear its head a little bit in his recent starts. So he's a little bit wild, although he is kind of keeping the opponents off the scoreboard. But against Baltimore, not great numbers of 43 at-bats, 279 average is not that bad, but 829 OPS, getting a little bit high. So I think Baltimore might have an edge here with Sugano, who's actually been better, even though seems like nobody likes the guy because he's not flashy. He doesn't strike guys out, but he does get a lot of ground balls. He is getting guys out. Even though he doesn't strike guys out, he doesn't walk guys. He just goes out, gets the job done, hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start. He's getting used to it, getting it done. 1.15 whip, 3 ERA. And Kansas City, they did see him once this year, though, so that maybe removes Sugano's edge a little bit, just because I think he has a little bit of an extra edge against hitters who have never seen him before. Kansas City did see him once this year, but he did do well against them at 19 at-bats, 211 average, 618 OPS allowed in that one. And it was an 8-1 win for Baltimore in that one. He went 5 1/3, allowing 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 5 hits in that one. So I still give Sugano the edge in that one. Slight lean to the Baltimore side, but they're down from -135 to -105. 71% of tickets, 75% of the cash, so some conflicting indicators there. The fact that the money line has moved so much kind of indicates to me that the professional money might actually be more on the Kansas City side against a public Baltimore team, so I don't want to get involved. Where I will go is Atlanta on the money line. I actually like this one. The money looks like it's going to agree on this one. Atlanta flipped from plus 106 to minus 110, 53% of cash on them, but LA, very public. I mean, the Dodgers are always going to be public. 84% of tickets coming in on LA, but when you see something like that with the cash disparity coming in on the anti-public home favorite, a team that's flipped from a dog to a favorite, that is something you got to take notice of, and I actually think it's going to work in this game. Dodgers have the way better record than the Braves, of course. So the Braves are better than the record would indicate. Had a bad start to the season. Of course, the public isn't going to want to take them with the huge record disparity there. But the Braves are actually good at home, 8-4 at home. Dodgers only 500 on the road. So the Braves have a better home record than the Dodgers have a road record. And what we got here is Roki Sasaki pitching for the Dodgers. Yeah, he's okay, but 1.42 whip indicates his 3.55 ERA should be higher. He's not going that deep into games yet. He's a little bit wild. He's walking too many guys, and that's the concern there. 18 walks to 20 strikeouts. He's not very hittable. 18 hits allowed in 25 and a third, but he is putting too many guys on base via the walk, man. So even though Atlanta hasn't seen him before, I think we have the edge over on the Atlanta side. Of Sasaki does just walk too many guys. He's new to the majors this year, and he's the youngest of these Japanese pitchers that have come over here. So I think he's got a little bit more nerves there than some of these other pitchers do. And he's got to go up against Schwellenbach, who at this point is a proven pitcher, even though I lost on him in his last start. He didn't do that badly, but the team lost. 2.87 ERA, 0.98 whip, 33 to 6 strikeout walk ratio, only 31 hits allowed, and 37 2/3. Good numbers. He's the real deal. I mean, he's the much less wild of these two pitchers. He's doing quite well. He allowed 6 earned runs in that one weird outlier against Toronto. Every other game, 3 earned runs or fewer. Even from that 3 earned run performance against Arizona, tough spot at Arizona. I think he's going to bounce back from that. And in his home games, he's allowed 0, 1, and 2 earned runs in the home games, and he's at home this time. So I won't take that much away from game at Chase Field, which is a hitter-friendly park, or really the game at Toronto either. I expect Schwellenbach to do a lot better here. Yes, the Dodgers have seen him before, but not this year. And in 20 at-bats, he's selling to a 200 average, a 638 OPS. So Schwellenbach has done well against them. So we're going to go with that, which I think is a big-time market read on that one, but I happen to agree with it. I see a lot of reasons to do it. And then finally, I think Detroit has the upper hand here with Jack Flaherty against Kyle Hendricks. I mean, Flaherty's obviously the better pitcher. Hendricks sucks, but Flaherty against Anaheim hasn't done that great. 52 at-bats, 269 average, 764 OPS, so I hesitate a little bit there. Hendricks still the much, much worse pitcher, though. I mean, just awful numbers. 6.65 ERA, 1.39 whip, whereas Flaherty this year, what did he have? 3.34 ERA, 1.11 whip. So take from that what you will. And then Hendricks against Detroit, only 6 at-bats, but they're 3 for 6 off for a 500 average, 1,000 OPS with no extra base hits. But Hendricks is the worst pitcher, but you're paying a big price again for Detroit, just like you were with Skubal on the mound last night. And that was a 1-1 game into the 9th inning, but Detroit put up an 8 spot in the 9th inning. So they got to L.A. It's very questionable bullpen. So Detroit does have a bullpen edge as well. But you're paying way too much of a price. They're up from minus 158 to minus 175. 85% of tickets, only 81% of the cash. So I don't love it. That's going to do it, man. That's the breakdown for today. All of my plays are in baseball. And, yeah, I think that's it. We got the Mets on the money line. We got over in Tampa and Yankees. Miami, money line. Marlins, under in Minnesota, Boston, and Atlanta on the money line for the baseball plays. That's the whole thing. Thanks for hanging out. Or, well, maybe nobody was hanging out this time, this early in the morning. But Tower Gang Tone on Twitter, of course, is very early on Saturday. I may try to be back and do a Kentucky Derby breakdown at some point before the Derby actually happens at 6 whatever p.m. We will see what I can do about that. Just my thoughts in general. Journalism is the best horse in the race at like 3-1 there, and has the best speed, and he drew a good position running out of the 8 gate, so he's kind of right in the middle of the field, which is good. The only problem is that I think because, actually maybe I won't even do a breakdown, maybe I'm just telling you right now, the Kentucky Derby, what I can tell you is the horses that are in the 1 and 2 spots and the 20 way over the other side, so all the horses on the edges are actually like the pure speed horses, which I think means that you're going to get a fast race because those horses have to leave the gate really fast to avoid traffic. When you're jammed up against the rail or you're way over and you have to start moving from the outside in, you got to get ahead of the pack. So I think what that's going to do is lead to the first quarter of the race being too fast. We call them fractions in horse racing. And what that means is that the closers actually might have a little bit of an edge in this race, even though a lot of times they don't because there's a lot of traffic in the Kentucky Derby with 20 horses there. But there is one advantage for closers, which is that it's a longer race than most races. So the closers have more time to gain ground if they're not too far behind. And if the first quarter of the race is way too fast, that means those horses that are kind of the horses that get out really fast to start, they're going to start slowing down later in the race because they use too much of their energy early in the race. And if the closers can avoid the traffic, that means they can kind of get in the mix there. And there are a lot of horses that can close in this race, which are Sandman, Sovereignty, Journalism, who's at Journalism is the best. Publisher. Sorry, they're very similar names. Publisher is the one that's at a huge 30-1 or 20-1. Actually has a decent chance. Burnham Square, who I believe came in second in the Florida Derby. And the Florida Derby usually produces horses that do well in the Kentucky Derby, but the winner of it, Tappan Street, had to be scratched from the Kentucky Derby. So now the best horse from the Florida Derby in this race is Burnham Square. So Burnham Square might have a little bit of an edge there as well. And then Baeza has now entered the race because Rodriguez had to be scratched. And Baeza should have been in the race anyway, but didn't have enough points despite taking second in the Santa Anita Derby, only because the Santa Anita Derby had fewer horses in it, which meant that the amount of points that you got for it actually wound up being less than it would have been otherwise. Usually, it would have allowed Baeza enough points to get into this race, but now Baeza is in because Rodriguez has been scratching. Baeza is a dangerous horse, man, and could be there as well. So it's an interesting race, man. So we'll see what happens. I don't even know my feelings on this. I mean, Journalism is definitely the best horse, but my thoughts, maybe Journalism's not going to be able to get it done there. Maybe you want to look to one of those closing horses. Burnham Square, I'll have to make sure I'm right about this, but I believe Burnham Square's the horse being run by Hernandez is the jockey. You got to figure out which horse has Hernandez running, because Hernandez was actually the jockey on the winning horse last year. So he, as a jockey, does have that little bit of pedigree there from last year. And I think he's on Burnham Square in this race. But the way you could do it, you can, of course, play horses to win, whatever, win, play, show. So they come in either first, second, or third, that type of thing. You could do that. But I think where you can really make money is by playing box trifectas, exactas, and superfectas, which are, with a trifecta, exacta, you're playing the top three horses. Just the trifecta, you have to get them all in order. But with the box, you can get them in any order. And, of course, you make less money for it, but you have more of a chance to win something. So that might be the way to do it. And exacta goes the same way, except it's the top two horses. And the superfecta, I believe, is the four horses. So you could look to play the race in those ways and play multiple cards, man, because if some of your combinations hit, you're probably going to win money as long as you limit your combinations to just the best chances. If, one of them hits, you're going to probably win money and do pretty well, because in horse racing, you're not going up against the books. It's actually a parimutuel style of betting, which means that the money all gets pooled, so you're actually just trying to beat the public money, which is interesting. So maybe I won't do a full breakdown, but that is in general the Kentucky Derby there. I'm not really a horse guy. My favorite horse last year didn't even do anything. So and then actually there's one other horse that actually is pretty good. Hold on, let me see. Kentucky Derby. There's one other horse that I kind of like in the race. Let me see. I just want to make sure that I got this right. Let me see. Here they are. I want to see all the horses. What was the other horse? So Baeza is actually having to run out of the 21 spot, though, so way over to the right, because Baeza was just interested. Maybe not a great starting position for Baeza, and Baeza's going to have to get over, but Still, I mean, you might be able to see by his. Oh, Grande was the other horse that I kind of liked, and Grande has actually been scratched as well. So scratch Grande, scratch that. Burnham Square, by the way, is running out of the 9 spots. So in the middle there, pretty good positioning for journalism, Burnham Square, and publisher actually as well. So to be honest, I might actually be looking towards those 3 maybe because just their poll positions are a little bit better. Anyway, that's going to do it. Tower Gang Don't on Twitter, patreon.com/TowerGang to throw us some support. And join us at Bohemian Grove in Central Florida in late June. Tickets are available to the public now. I can go find them. You'll find them somewhere. Just go look at Top Lobster's Twitter. Look at Raven's Twitter. You'll probably find it somewhere. That's going to do it for me, man. Peace out. Happy Saturday. Happy Derby Day.